a mentor who's going to turn 80, and he's been an entrepreneur all his life, and he's been very helpful to me. He has a slogan. This goes back to pre-internet, but about a business idea. You know, it takes 3 years to know you got something. It takes 5 to go, and you have to be prepared for that. Now, fortunately, when we started GrillGrate, I had that mindset. Now, I did not tell that to my wife. That's like saying, honey, you're going to be pregnant for 5 years before you get That's
one way of putting it.
So you hold back a little bit of that pain, but you have to be prepared for it.
This is the Meat America Podcast, presented by Code 3 Spices, produced by Red Meat Lover. And now your host, Joey and Mike.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Meat America Podcast, presented by Code 3 Spices and sponsored by GrillGrate at grillgrate.com and found in retailers across the country, as well as our other sponsor, Ardent Spirits. Today we are here back again in Old Herald Distillery here in downtown Collinsville. My name is Joe Lampe. You may know me better as Joey Brisket, but I am the Chief Beef Officer of RedMeatLover.com and Red Meat Lover on YouTube. As usual, I'm here with my podna, Mike Radosevich, the Sultan of Spice, co-owner of Code 3 Spices and Code3BarbecueSupply.com. Mike, what's up, buddy?
Joe, how are we doing today?
I'm beautiful.
Did you have a good weekend? You just got back from vacation?
Just got back from vacation, a little R&R, and now it's time to go full speed ahead with all the great things we've been working on together.
Yeah, we got a fun day ahead of us like usual. All of our guests have been phenomenal. I've been wanting a long time since we started filming this to get this guy on. I consider him one of the nicest guys in the industry, very hardworking individual, hands down the best aftermarket product that the barbecue industry has. He's a sponsor of our show from GrillGrates, Brad Barrett. Brad, how we doing today, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Mike, good, Mike. Good. Nice to meet you, Joey, as well.
Nice to meet you too, and thanks again for all your support of our podcast and for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
So, Brad, let's kick it off this way. With COVID and sales and the industry, let's get this out of the way real quick. You know, Chris and I were a little concerned when this first started. And then the night of the couple days of the whole toilet paper debacle nationwide, we noticed that our sales, don't want to say the numbers out loud, but they're very good within a week. We knew that a lot of people were staying at home cooking because of our barbecue supply. We were flying through some GrillGrates, which, by the way, I want to get this out of the way. GrillGrates are, well, first of all, GrillGrate is out of Cartersville, Georgia, and they're produced and manufactured in Roscoe, Illinois, about 3.5 hours north from where we are right now. So I want to get that out of the way. I'm sure that's helping with sales.
It's business made in the USA. It means more than ever right now. But yes, so to your point, you could almost see it in our web traffic as soon as the shutdown orders and the stay-in-place orders went in place. Our web traffic literally doubled overnight. One of my grill buddies, one of my manufacturing buddies, called me up and says, "Brad, double your ad spend right now." I'm like, well, you know, why do you say that? He goes, everybody's home on their computers and subsequently also on their grills. So yeah, we kind of did one of these, and I think September is going to be the tail of the tape. It's been an incredible summer. I think we've had more people grilling than ever before. It may be the golden age of grilling, Mike. I don't want to jinx it, you know, but I think we're headed there because people are home. Cooking and food may be, I can't think of another one, but cooking and food may be the only positive to come out of this. Well, we all have better hygiene. We wash our hands more.
Right.
But grilling and food, give me another positive. I have trouble coming up with one, you know.
There's not many of them. Matter of fact, I know that first 2 weeks that we were shut down here in Illinois, I took full advantage of it, and I was cooking with the kids every single day.
Every day.
And that was nice, man. I mean, to get my 8 and 13-year-old out there, you know, they were concerned about everything going on. Even though it was, you know, some little stuff like hot dogs and hamburgers, it was still me and my kids around the grill and using our GrillGrates too. I think I sent you a couple pictures of that.
You did. I mean, everybody. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, I think the grill's become like a comfort zone in a whole nother level, you know, right now in the situation we're involved in. So, yeah, everybody's grilling. If you weren't grilling, you probably are now. And if you weren't grilling, you might have bought one because it's hard to find a grill. I mean, a lot of the big stores are sold. It's like bicycles. Go find a bicycle. That may be the other bright spot.
I could tell you right now, if you walked into our place, Brad, into Code 3 Barbecue Supply, we've only got maybe 6 or 7 grills on the floor right now. And we usually have 15 to 25 on hand any day of the week. Right. Weber's back ordered on some products. Smoking Brothers back ordered on some products. Everybody is. That's across the board.
Yeah, one of my buddies, one of the Kamado guys I talked to, he's like, Brad, every container is sold. We will not take a new order until probably February 2021.
That's crazy.
Well, what do you do? You close up shop?
I think you mentioned it. The beginning of COVID felt a little bit like a mini vacation. After a while, it started to feel more like a little bit of a jail sentence, frankly. But, one of the things we've talked about a lot on this show is how the grill is really space for therapy in a way. It's a way to get away, to spend some quiet time, some time with the music, just reflecting and being at peace, especially with all this time inside spent with our families. So, you started about where the impact that COVID is having, but I want to step back a little bit further. Brad, we've featured these GrillGrates on our YouTube channel. I've seen them used at multiple Steak Cook-Off Association events across the country, but why don't you tell our audience who might not be familiar, in your own words, more about your product and what it is and what it does?
Sure. I mean, the short form is it's just a better cooking surface. I mean, Mike used the word aftermarket. The cooking surface of a grill really hasn't been a focal point. It's all been about the fuel. Is it pellet? Is it charcoal? Is it gas? We got fortunate in a way in that focused on the grilling surface and said, gee, there's a way to make this product. And I kind of stumbled into this through the electric grill market. I don't want to go into that. We're 13 years old. It's a raised rail design, and it just simply cooks food better. We got very, very fortunate. So you put this on any grill, whether it's charcoal, gas, pellet, even electric, even indoor now, even a flat top, and it cooks better. Basically, it exchanges heat very rapidly because it's aluminum. It's very, very conductive. I like to liken it to electricity on a wire. We've got heat on a rail, and we're firing heat into that food. So short answer is they cook food dramatically better. They improve the performance of a grill. And that's where I think we got lucky right now, too, because as everybody's looking at the grills and looking at, gee, I'm home. Do we really have to cook again? Yeah, you have to cook again. So our timing was good. Being 13 years old, we have a little bit of a history now. And so when people started to get on the internet, they invariably came across us. So that's a little bit about our business. We now have like 80 SKUs. We sell to 14 different grill companies, a couple of them overseas, manufacturers in Europe of grill companies, and a lot of the, what I call the green shoot, the fast growing grill companies. So we're very fortunate. We make tires for the grill, and the tires wear out pretty quick. I mean, so anybody who owns a grill is going to be replacing their grates within the first couple of years.
Explore the methods and recipes for cooking meat in restaurants across America as we showcase experts on location in their restaurant kitchens to educate, inspire, and entertain. Tune into our travel cooking show, Meat America, only on YouTube and redmeatlover.com.
It's a good time now, but I heard you say 13 years ago. That puts us at 2007. And one of the things I'm really interested in is business people and their story, because it's inspirational. So 2007, take us back to when you started this. I mean, it couldn't have been probably a much worse time to start a company as we entered the Great Recession.
Yeah, and I made my wife a promise I wouldn't do it. We still had kids in college. I've had businesses go before. I've had businesses fail before. So we were still licking our wounds. But a strange story, I was hired to go into a company after having to tank a business. Okay, I had to put a business down. Hardest thing in the world to do. Real easy to start a company, really hard to stop one. I hope you never have to I hope you never have to face that, okay? So I had stopped the business, basically shook off him, and this fellow and a prior investor asked me to come to work for him short term. Basically, he was giving me a favor, right? Come into my company, find innovation. He had like 12 divisions. The guy's 94, by the way, still alive. Bunch of divisions, and I was rooting around in his divisions, and some of his guys weren't that thrilled having some guy like me running around in their product development department, right? Anyway, I came across this in one of his businesses without the holes. It had Teflon on it. It was geared toward the electric grill market, which is still kind of like the Holy Grail. And I'm like, what the hell is this? He goes, oh, it's great for grills, but be careful, the Teflon. It's been on the shelf for a couple of years. We couldn't make a go of it. I'm a griller, but not at that time a really good one. I was the guy that was cutting into his chicken to see if it was red or not, and cutting into this steak. And I'm always sweating bullets until the meal's ready. And did I screw up that beautiful piece of meat or not? That was me. So my problem met that opportunity. I put the holes in it, took the Teflon off, went through a whole bunch of stuff just fooling around, and then couldn't believe how much better these things cooked. So did what everybody else did. I put a few in my friends' hands, and then they started to say, Brad, these are cool. I need one for my dad. So we knew we had something. And then that was the hard part. Okay, so then you have to make the holy shit, there's the cliff, and there's only one way to go, man. You have to jump. And that was a sales job on the wife, because it's like, okay, honey, I can't help myself. We got to go. Right. And she famously said, you'll be miserable if you don't try. So wow. Off we went. And to your point, the first year doesn't count. I mean, we had all kinds of issues, and I won't go into that. So yeah, I mean, by the end of 2008, we're sweating, you know, and into 2009, it was tough. I mean, those first couple, 3 years, a lot of people say, oh, wow, you're killing it. Well, you don't recognize it took 4 years to make a profit. It took 5 years to take a dime out.
Yep.
And, you know, so, but we went on.
And that's good, Brad. I mean, and some people, it's 8-10 years before they take a penny out. So good job on you for that, man. That's amazing.
That's suicidal.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so that's our story. And then really a couple of things happened. Another neat thing happened is one of my friends said, oh, you got to go on QVC. Okay. So we made an effort, and I went up to Philadelphia and went on QVC. You talk about deer in the headlights, and I was on with David. He's like 7 feet tall in the kitchen with David. I had the right guy. Right. And cute story. When we're done our little segment, which I was nervous as hell, they all jump on their golf carts and take off. And I'm standing there, the only guy on the outdoor set. I'm like, well, that was fun. So I'm walking back to where my wife and a friend of ours were. And I'm like, well, at least I can say I did it, right? I walk in the room, they're all cheering. I'm like, what are you freaking cheering about? Like, you sold 3,700 units. I'm like, what?
That's awesome.
Wow.
And then we realized, okay, we do have something we can sell on television. And then I took a leap, another one. A friend of mine said, you ought to try infomercials. So, and stubborn, and then as entrepreneurs are, I said, well, I can do that myself. And we did. I hired somebody to produce a commercial. I did hire someone to buy ads. And if you're an insomniac, Joe, you would have seen me about 6 years ago. We were buying all that nighttime and morning time and Saturday morning fishing shows. And by God, it worked. So that was really what gave us the lift finally. But it took 4 years and running around to KCBS, and I didn't know what a green egg was, and kind of following my nose to where like people like Mike live. You know, I went to the crazy, no offense, Mike, but the crazy wacky core
sure.
of the grilling and barbecue industry, and met a ton of guys like Mike, and gave away a lot of product and said, hey man, love to know what you think. Got a lot of positive feedback from that. And that's where our taproot is, you know, with the barbecue guys, and the Steak Cook-Off Association didn't even exist when we started. And now it's like the fastest growing thing in food sport. And obviously we're involved in that and the sponsor of that. So to fast forward 8 or 9 years, it's like, wow, what a ride.
Brad, thanks for sharing some really great business advice there. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is I noticed on your LinkedIn profile that you're a collaboration junkie, and you say something along the lines of all of us is smarter than one of us. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you go about collaborating with others, and why you feel it's important to the success of not only your business, but, you know, I know you have a storied career, other businesses as well.
Well, that was my prior business, was actually building smart rooms and collaborative technology. So I had a background, and that business went south. I mean, I actually got close. I had Hilton hotels on the hook, but that's a whole nother story. But I really, at the time, I had done a lot of corporate work, but I really enjoyed collaborating. Okay. It's probably, well, it's what we do in our business a lot here. 5 or 6 people, we have whiteboards. Well, there usually is a whiteboard right behind me here. There's a whiteboard over there. There's a term called displayed thinking. And I'm a big believer of it. I've got our whole website sitting over here as we're trying to redo it. So collaboration is probably one of the more important things that any business does, any group does. Margaret Mead talks about that. Don't underestimate what a few small people can do to make great change. So collaboration is the element, it's the engine of change. Without it, you're just marching to your own drummer, and you're probably going to go into a wall.
Well, you talk about, I've known you for a while now, Brad, and I've used your product thousands of times. There's a big appeal to it because, one, you take a guy like me who is more than your average barbecue guy. You take somebody like my business partner who's one of the top 10 or top 12 steak competitors in the world. And then you go to our barbecue supply store, and you've got first-time users buying GrillGrates. And when I say first-time users, I mean first-time barbecuers, first-time smokers.
Sure.
The product really speaks for itself. It makes life easier. My favorite thing about your product, one, they're sleek and they're clean looking, and I like that. I love the rail system on it. 0 flare-ups. That's the number one thing I like. I'm a big Weber guy, and I'm a big PK grill guy. And I use lump charcoal from Rockwood, so that's blaring hot. So that's probably one of the, in my opinion, the best aspect about your product. I mean, there's other things, the even heat distribution helps out a lot. That's really key when it comes to, having multiple items on your real estate surface. The perfect sear marks, they don't have to be pretty, but GrillGrates are going to make them pretty. And not only that, the juicier food, never rust. I mean, those are all key elements to it. But at the end of the day, it helps you yield a better product off your barbecue grill than it would without having GrillGrates on your set.
And that's why I say we got lucky. I mean, a lot of people say, well, gee, you've done a lot. I'm like, well, we had a really good product. We have superb customer satisfaction. So we're actually have to be good shepherds of a very good product. So as I tell my gang, and there's a couple of them are sitting in here, we can't pat ourselves on the back too much. We have a very good product, number one. And number two, the market's finally coming to us. We haven't had wind at our back since we started, as an industry. I mean, we as a small business, we're trying to break through. So for the first time ever, we got wind at our back, but we don't lose sight of the fact we have a product that delights people. And that is probably the most enjoyable thing, is the amount of feedback we get, the product reviews we get. I mean, we just had a guy write us up from Serious Eats that blew our mind. I mean, he went through, 2 or 3 pages of detail, and he says, I really do like these that much. I'm not a shrill. I don't even know this guy.
I saw that article. Yep.
Big time food writer, right? I mean, that's one of the top 4 food sites. We didn't know it was coming. But that, I mean, God, knock on wood. Again, that's why I say we're very lucky. It's a privilege to have a product that delights people. And we have an obligation to kind of be as good as our product is. That's been my mantra in here since day one. I want to build a company as good as my product. And that's a challenge because we've got a good product, but we've also built a pretty good company now. And I'm more proud than ever of who we got in the building and what we're doing. And, that Serious Eats thing drove a lot of business. Last Friday afternoon, they were calling me I had just left out a little bit early, and they're like, Brad, open your phone up. The traffic was worse than COVID. I mean, we went from a couple thousand people on our site to 8,000.
Well, I'm going to pat you on the back in a couple ways right here. One, you got Michael Delaporta, who's one of the nicest guys in the industry, one of the most talented guys in the industry, one of the biggest hearts in the industry. Is he by you right now? Tell him I said hi if he is. Okay. No. The other thing is, too, your guys' customer service is off the hook. I mean, probably some of the best customer service in our industry. The other thing is that we have sold hundreds of your sets at our store, and we haven't had a single complaint, not one complaint. And we also sell duck fat, too, which is talking about collaborating as well. But I want to show everybody. So the one that Brad was holding up earlier, that was the half version for, I believe, a Kamado style 18-inch in your hand. Is that correct? Which I just got one of those. I use it on my kettle.
It just came out, actually, this spring.
And then I got a 13.75 length grill set here. What I like about this, Joe, is you can use this as a griddle right here. So you flip them over. One thing I did, Brad, was I got on Amazon and I bought those stainless steel zip ties. And I went ahead and zip tied them to my PK grates.
A lot of PK guys are doing that.
Well, it makes sense, and it makes life easier, especially if you're wanting to practice steak or whatever.
If you're a steak guy, but see, I flip mine over so much, I would never want to affix them.
Well, that's why you buy two sets, so you can have one set that's up and one set that's down, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I haven't flipped up a lot. I mean, I use the backside. In fact, a lot of times it's a 2/3 cook. I'll sear the burgers, till they're almost done. Let the juices drip in the valley and have that steam bath. But then right before they're finished, I'll move them to the flat side just to kind of dial in a little more crust, a little more overall searing. It's like a precision searing thing. I've only started doing that in the last year or so. I think the shut-in, or the whatever you want to call it, the stay-at-home stuff, we're all polishing our recipes. I'm shooting alt views and digging out 10-year-old recipes off our website and saying, let's reword them, let's get some better imaging. And so we've been polishing kind of our craft, while we've been at it. So anyway.
Well, you talked about using these on the grill. And, when I first got started with meat in general, I was in college. I was pretty tired of eating ramen noodles and finally decided I need to go to the store. And that's really where my journey began, was standing at the meat counter, confused about what to buy. After a few trial and error, I realized I really liked a New York strip steak, but I was living in an apartment by myself. I didn't have a grill. And so I really started broiling steaks. And it's not my preferred method, but it gets the job done. And where I'm going with this is that, as fun as grilling is, there's a whole lot of people who live in high rises, who live in apartment communities, who don't have access to a grill. We haven't released it yet, Brad, but we have a lot of people searching on our YouTube channel for how to cook steak in an oven. Now, there's some meat elitist out there, some purist, or however you want to describe them. Yeah, that says, it can only be done on a grill. Well, I say that as long as it turns out great the way you like it, there's many right ways to cook. And so we actually use these in our oven under the broiler, and it turned out really great. The alternative for me has always been to go with the broiler, and the broiler does not get that same crust, that same those same sear marks on the steaks as this product did. So I'm really excited to release that video because we're using, really a new tool in our oven to show our audience and those people who don't have access to a grill. I noticed you recently have a product out there that kind of incorporates now the pan underneath, right? That was one thing I kind of had to build myself, foil line and cookie sheet, put this on top, but I noticed that's a new product you're working on.
Well, we've actually had it around for a while. That was the genesis of one of our patents, is this whole, the broiler pan was, I think, patented in like 1898. Yeah.
Long time ago.
And you can't even get a broiler pan. You buy an oven today, the broiler pan's an extra. It doesn't even come with them anymore because people don't use them.
Yep.
So your point is well taken. The high-rise community between the electric grill market, this whole Ninja Foodie air fryer instant pot piece. Oh my God, I didn't even know what they were a year ago, right? But so we're making small grates for that market. The Ninja Foodie crowd has lit up, and here you can get that thing, as hot as possible, preheat it like a grill. You put a steak on there, and you shock yourself. But the oven is a good place. So is the stovetop. Our little local pizza joint around the corner that we work with all the time. I walk in and he's like, "Hey, Brad," I stick my head in and he's got a big old grate laying across two of his burners.
That's awesome.
A lot of ways to use these, not just on a grill, but your point's well taken, Joey, because I would say about a year or so ago, we really kind of stepped into ancillary markets, the indoor air fryer, the smart ovens. Holy cats, these smart ovens with probes, and you put your little food in there and the damn camera's up there. Recognizes, it's asparagus. How do you want to cook it? You push a button. So we're in those kind of markets too. Now we're into the flat top market with Blackstone, and this piece has really taken off. This came out of our restaurant piece. We notice there's no holes here, right? But this goes right over a flat top. So you can have your flat top be more versatile, your oven be more versatile, your stove top. We've even got guys putting these in skillets, and just, it's like a super duper, grill pan, if you will. So,
well, here's the other thing, Brad. Your price point is perfect.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I'm saying it. I mean, you pay for what you get, right? Yeah. Ideally, I mean, I've actually had people say, "Man, I figured these would cost a little bit more," which is a good feedback.
Love to hear it. Well, sometimes I hear we're expensive but worth it. But again, being made in the U.S., I will tell you, not to pick on the people in China, but there is a lot of Chinese junk in the grilling industry.
You're absolutely right.
I'll take a jab at Amazon, and most of it is sold on Amazon, and most of it is sold by sellers who don't even have a phone number or an address.
Yep.
I mean, don't buy anything from anybody who doesn't have a phone number and an address. That's my takeaway on Amazon. But I make it off.
I agree.
Let's get back to COVID for a second, though, because the thing that's happening to us right now, and I think the thing that I forget sometimes, and you mentioned customer service. We have an 80-year-old woman, I'm not kidding you, who answers our phone from 5 to 8 p.m. and all day Saturday and Sunday. And she loves it. It's kind of like her reason to trust. It's what it's her part for being. And she invariably will say, customers are saying, I'm loving these things so much. It's my comfort. It's giving me great joy in the backyard. I'm helping stay sane, in all the craziness staying at home. So I feel like we're, again, lucky that we get to play a role in a positive part of the challenges that everybody's going through right now. I mean, you guys do this. I mean, you're one of the most, giving people at Code 3 of anybody in our industry. I feel like we got lucky. We're giving back. We're giving people some sanity and enjoyment in their backyard, and we're giving them an escape from their kitchen, because a lot of them don't want to be in the kitchen.
Absolutely.
And I think the other thing that I did was dawning on me, I was getting ready to chat with you guys. The Thanksgiving table is kind of known. It can be a little politicized and got to worry about Uncle Henry, right? That doesn't seem to happen outside. When you're with a beverage and you're around the grill, you're tending the grill. It's not an acrimonious time. It's sanctuary. And I think that's the difference between the kitchen and the grill, is we're kind of going out back, and we're stepping back and we're stepping out. I feel like we're all very fortunate. If you've had a grill during this, stay at home stuff, you're in a much better place than if you don't.
Well, no one has friends over to microwave, first and foremost, right? And that's kind of like how we like to think about this podcast, as a bunch of friends gathered around the grill. The meat is what brings us together, although the conversation can go in a lot of different ways. One of the things, you talked about was the junk that's out there on Amazon and elsewhere. And, there's something, probably for most people minor about your product, but I think it's pretty major. I noticed that you don't use traditional wire bristles in your brushes. Correct. I think those things are absolute pure garbage. I am shocked when I go into a store and I see some of the big names still selling these things. I don't think people really truly realize how many urgent care and ER visits occur every year because a wire bristle ends up on that grill grate and it gets stuck and then lodged in the food. Your brush that gets in between the grooves, I noticed, is a circular
coil. Yeah,
coil. So that's not going to chip off. And even your brush, I noticed that you have a brush on there that I think you said, or I read, was kind of driven by the needs of the restaurant industry, but that's
Correct.
not wire bristles in there either, correct?
Correct. It's a plastic that's really unique. It goes to 600F. Hakeem is actually bringing it to the screen. This is the most expensive grill brush in the market, but it will last virtually forever. I mean, you can soak this in Simple Green and it'll come clean. But yes, a major restaurant, fast food joint the lawyers wouldn't let them bring grilled chicken in the menu until they came up with a way to clean their grill. And I'm not for government regulation. No businessman is, right? But the fact that there's still wire brushes with bristles on the market is inexcusable. I agree with you.
Totally.
100%.
Especially when there's dozens of options. We're not the only people that make bristleless designs, right? So, but yeah, we sell thousands of them. And to our friends out there, we're close to a stainless version on the other item. The other one does rust. It lasts about a year. And that's what we tell people. You don't use your toothbrush forever. Grill brushes are designed to wear out, except this one. I use this one every day like a broom. It also is a great grease sweep too when you're on the flat top, when you have a lot of grease that's building up on the grates. But yeah, thank you for that. I mean, we have a lot of different accessories now, little tools that we've come up with. It's like detailing of your products now. In fact, this weekend, you'll love this. It was kind of a rainy Saturday. So I have 3 grills that are in my rotation a lot. And I took all 3 grills apart. My Weber gasser, to your point, Mike, I'm a gasser guy more than I would admit, because it just is what it is. I did breakfast on it yesterday morning. but I emptied that thing out. I'm so glad I did. I'm probably 2 weeks from a grill fire. I mean, there was that much crap at the bottom of it. The drip pan is full of moisture and grease. Cleaned up my grates. Then I did 2 pellet grills. So that gives you my mix. I got a gasser and 2 pellet grills that I use regularly. Cleaned them all up, cleaned the grates, used my brushes. And as I got done, I'm like, wow, these look great. I mean, it's like a reset. So clean the grill, clean your grates, use the right tools, right brushes. Oh yeah, Hakeem's doing a good job. We have our own little.
I tell you what, we saw a lot of that at the store. We saw a lot of it.
This stuff is fantastic, and I cleaned the whole outside of the grill with it as well. So my Weber gasser and my Rectech Bullseye, which I love as a grill, and my other pellet grill that I've been playing around with the Weber Smoke Fire a good bit because I wanted to make sure we understood that grill. It's a little bit different. So those are the 3 in my rotation. And then the PK comes out on weekends, usually for steak night.
I've seen many of those episodes.
And I got a Yoder in the back too. So that's my deck right now. I only have 5 grills out.
You talked on some of these Chinese-made products or cooking on a gas grill. There's a lot of chitter chatter or chirping in our industry about, well, you cook on a gas grill or you use a pellet grill or whatever it is. Here's the deal. As a businessman who owns a spice and sauce company and barbecue supply, I don't care what you cook on. As long as you're cooking, you could take one of these things and put it over a chimney and cook. You know, right. you're good with me. But go ahead.
I was going to share with you the Serious Eats article that he referenced earlier. The whole angle on that was about using these on a gas grill. That's kind of was his approach to the article, and which I thought. Yeah,
and he even said, "I know you're going to shoot me right up front. I use a gas grill a lot. You know, hold your comments. It is what it is."
Well, like I said, I mean, you know, the industry's evolved so much, and the pellet grill market is. We've touched on it several times on our episodes already. You know, like I said, I don't care what you're cooking on as long as you're cooking, but that's one thing that's nice about your product and your business is you cover all facets of it. I don't care if it's gas or whatever.
Yeah. As my wife likes to say, we've never met a grill we don't like.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. She's a smart woman.
Yes.
Does she know about your grill friends, though, that you mentioned earlier?
No. Yes, my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right, did it, Joey? My girlfriend. But the industry is it's a fun industry. And I think, you know, we got lucky in this time too, because more people than ever online looking for recipes, looking for techniques. So, and to your point is great. If you're not grilling right now, you're really missing out on an opportunity to chill and build better relationships with your kids and your family. This is not Thanksgiving. This is every day. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the breakout. We were really lucky. I'm an entrepreneur, but both of my businesses, I had the house and the businesses close together. So when my kids were all in high school, even if I went back to the office at 6:30 or 7 o'clock, I was home for dinner every night. That was kind of a rule if I could. If I wasn't traveling, I don't care if you go right back to the office, get your ass home for dinner.
Right.
And now it's like God sent us all to our room.
Yeah.
So everybody go back to your room, learn how to cook, take care of yourselves, and take care of your family.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, Brad, and Joe, you can bounce off of this if you want. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people that are going to be tuning into this, listening, or watching on YouTube, whatever it is. You've got a pretty good idea of me and Chris's journey and where we've been and sort of our growth and where we are now. And it's ever evolving, and it's always very unique for Chris and I, year after year, to sort of sit back, look at our growth, and adapt to upcoming growth. You know, there's a lot to balance, right? And a lot of quote unquote success gets lost because you're consumed with your daily grind, your daily activities, the constant wanting to grow your business.
Yeah.
So you've been in business 5 years longer than us. What is your advice to a business owner that is just in that suck every day? And what is something you could tell a business owner as they go through their different levels of success or growth that could help them out?
Yeah, at your stage and at ours, and I'll brag on the people in this room. We're missing Andrew, wherever the hell he is. 2 words: professional management. There comes a time when you've got to stop doing all this, and in fact, you really got to say, I can't do this, and why don't I have someone doing this so I can be focusing on other things? It is very, very hard to do. Most entrepreneurs, if they're not hands-on, they're not happy. Well, you got to, at some point, and you're at that point, I'm at the point, I've gotten lucky here. Our biggest challenge has been people. Up until February, we're in Metro Atlanta, but we're 60 miles north. Getting qualified people, talented people to work when you had an unemployment rate of 3%, basically we were full employment. It was tough. So I'm not saying that's the only reason we're successful, but that's where I'm at, Mike. I've got an operations manager now. I don't manage the flow of grates very often. I've got a talented in-house agency. I got a creative director. I've got a Google SEO expert. I got a community expert.
And that's what it takes. I mean, I think that's phenomenal advice, Brad. The last time we talked on the phone. Yeah, the last time we talked on the phone, I sort of told you what me and Chris have going on and some of the inside and outside help that, it's really fresh to us right now. It's only been about 3-4 months, but it's fun seeing things evolve when you can get things taken off your plate and delegate it to somebody else to do, and not only to do, but to have 100% focus on it, opposed to maybe 30% focused if you're still trying to catch up on it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And do it better because they're professionals at it and you're not.
Exactly.
And the other challenge we both face, you and I both face, is it's easy to grow too fast. It's easy not to be able to manage your growth. I mean, fortunately, this time last year, we were not growing that much. To be very candid with you, it was single-digit growth at GrillGrate in 2019 until the fourth quarter. Now we're dealing with double digits, damn near triple-digit growth. And that's had its own challenges because I don't want to go get a new warehouse right now because I don't feel confident this is totally new normal. I think it is because I think that we're going to be home cooking for a long, long time.
I agree.
But I hope it doesn't mean at the expense of bars and restaurants and all that. I don't want that world. I want a crowded bar just like the rest of us do.
Absolutely.
I want to be in the bar with you guys.
Yeah. Well,
right.
I'll take you up on that anytime.
Managing growth and professional management are, and it's so nice to have, those are nice problems. They're nice problems, not chasing business, trying to manage the business. I mean, I haven't been outbound knocking on doors. Jinx it. We just haven't had the time. I mean, it's so managing growth, but the thing I'm most thankful for is the fact that we've been able to get the right people in the right chairs.
Well, yeah. I think him being able to identify that is why you're successful. You've had past businesses fail. I think that's the other thing too about business. Until you dip your toes in the water, you don't know what's next. You learn a lot from, especially everything in the business world, but we're getting close to running out of time, but not running out of time yet. I want you to be able to tell people where they can get your stuff, the stores that you're in. I know that we're in a lot of the same stores you are. Let's tell everybody where they can get these amazing products called GrillGrates.
Obviously, GrillGrate.com. If you're going to buy online, and I'll take a second jab at Amazon, buy from us, not Amazon. They're an expensive channel. We do sell on Amazon, but and we try to keep others from not, because we just maintain Amazon because people have to buy there. Number two would be your independent retailers. You're not going to find us at Home Depot or Lowe's or Academy Sports or a lot of these mass merchants. We get lost in there. I need a salesman, so I need an Ace Hardware guy, or I need an independent guy. When you walk into a grill store, they're not going to let you just wander around. They're going to engage. You do that. I mean, everybody walks in the store, you know everything about them.
Yep. And
Home Depot doesn't, and Lowe's doesn't. So I am an independent retailer and direct from us at GrillGrate.com.
Yeah, nice. You said we're almost out of time, which means we still have some time left.
We do.
And I have a question for Brad, just kind of dovetailing on, what you just talked about, hiring professional managers and, growing the business from a business side. That's kind of where we're at Red Meat Lover. We've had significant growth as a result of COVID. Now, we don't have, our product is our videos, right, that we post on YouTube, but there's a whole lot that goes along with that. We have a website too. And I guess for the entrepreneur who's at that inflection point, I've been doing it all myself, me and my partner, who in this case is the wizard behind the camera, but we all have a partner. I know that early in your career, I think I was reading it was your wife. You and her were kind of touching all aspects of the business. So, and I'm trying to figure out how to word this question, so I'll do my best. How do you manage the ROI impact by, okay, knowing I can't do it all myself, I need to hire someone, but hiring someone is ultimately going to, be a cost that I put out and impact the near-term ROI.
Yeah.
So is there, it's kind of an ethereal question, but is there some insight? Again, this is very personally oriented on our
I
side.
hear you. Again, being a conservative guy, I mean, I am over 60. Don't hire anybody you can't afford. You may not be ready to hire somebody yet. You may have to still be in that all things to all people. And as I tell a lot of my, I get a lot of guys coming to me, hey, I got this idea. My first piece of advice is don't quit your day job.
Yep.
Don't quit your day job until you have no choice, because you've got business and commitments and things that are just finally pulling you away. I'd say the same things. I've seen a lot of guys, and I won't say any companies, but I've seen a lot of guys, man, I hired a sales guy. He's going to manage the ACE account. He's going to manage this. And in 6 months, they're madder than hell at him, and they're chasing him out the door. And they just hired a 6-figure person and ran him off. So frankly, you need to have the revenues, or at least some of the revenues, to be able to pay for that person, or you're not ready yet. Because the professional management really is probably like the third rung of kind of climbing up. You go through these kind of transitions, if you will. And that to me is like kind of the last transition to where you're well past being called a startup. We haven't been a startup in 6 or 7 years. 8 years ago, I was a startup. We were working out of a warehouse that I was borrowing, and everything was just stitched together. It took 8 or 9 years to be able to have our own team. And now my wife, you mentioned Susan, she's semi-retiring. She's out of the warehouse as much as she can be, but she was, every Saturday this year until 3 weeks ago, she was out there, so don't hire unless you can afford it, and you may not be ready for it. I'm just telling you what I would do in your position.
Oh, totally. And you mentioned earlier at this discussion about being at the edge of the cliff and just jumping. And Steve Harvey, I don't know if you've ever seen it. Steve Harvey has a great impromptu speech he gives at the end of one of the Family Feuds, if you could believe it. I never would have considered Steve Harvey to be such an intellectual, but man, that's what he really talks about, in order to kind of get to the next level, sometimes you got to jump, and sometimes your parachute isn't going to open right away. You talked about just now, don't quit your day job, right? And so the thing I feel like Steve Harvey always misses is, it's going to take some time for that first parachute to open. You're going to hit some edges of the cliffs on the way down, but I'd like to add to it, make sure you have a backup parachute packed up in there as well. Just like you talked about the day job,
We thought we had enough money too. And when we jumped off that cliff, it wasn't being ill prepared. It wasn't a close your eyes and go. No way. It was, what do we have in the bank? Can we live on that for 2 years? Can you live without no income for 2 years? And we made all that decision before the 07, 08. Next thing you know, I had half the money, so it was like, we ended up having to kind of do a timeout, and I had to go begging. I hate to use those words, but I have some friends and family investors. One of them's a restaurateur, very successful restaurateur in Atlanta. But, I had to take a timeout and raise a few bucks and sell a few pieces, sell a percentage of the business just to stay alive.
Sure.
So I think most companies, if they don't have that history, it's some tech guy with a box of pizzas in a room called Instagram getting bought for $1 billion and they never made a dime. That doesn't happen in the real world. That does not happen in the real world.
Well, I think one thing I want to add to what Brad just said, is when you are looking for some of that outside help, you really need to do your due diligence, as you were just saying that, people are running them off 6 months later. With one of the business decisions that Chris and I recently made, that it took us a year to sit on something through multiple negotiations, and nothing. My personal opinion is, you could chime in on this if you want, but my personal opinion is basically, if you think things are going to happen overnight, you're dead wrong. It's not going to happen. In our industry, especially, I feel that nothing moves fast. And when I say our industry, I mean the overall barbecue industry, the rubs, the sauces, the grocery retailers. Give you an example. So we just came out with a new product called Top Gun. Well, everybody's rushing to the stores to buy it. Well, you have to, get that in front of the grocery buyer. It takes a few months for them to review it. It takes a few months for them to accept it. And then they got to get it on the reset to get it on the store shelves. So there's a lot of different things that come in, to play with it. But I could only imagine, I would assume Ace Hardware is your biggest account, Brad.
At retail, they do pretty well, yes. But actually, my biggest customers outside of our direct-to-consumer business are grill companies.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of grill companies that we're shipping, a pallet or two a week.
That's awesome.
That's
they're
incredible.
But I want to go back to your other point, though, because I forgot this. I mean, I have a mentor who's going to turn 80, and he's been an entrepreneur all his life, and he's been very helpful to me. He has a slogan. This goes back to pre-internet, but about a business idea. It takes 3 years to know you got something. It takes 5 to go. And you have to be prepared for that. Now, fortunately, when we started GrillGrate, I had that mindset. Now, I did not tell that to my wife. That's like saying, honey, you're going to be pregnant for 5 years before you get to it doesn't sell very well.
That's one way of putting
So
it.
you hold back a little bit of that pain, but you have to be prepared for it. And I added a third one to it. It takes 10 years to become a brand. So you're only 3 or 4 years from really becoming a true brand. And you are right, because I think you guys have created, your branding is spectacular. But we're really kind of focusing on that right now too.
Sure.
And I lived it. It took 3 years to know I had something. It took 5 years to finally get a penny out of the business. And then the last 4 years have been steady growth. And then this stuff happened. So I feel like we've been prepared for rapid growth, because I was hoping for it earlier, but kind of had given up to Mike and Joey. I kind of said, we're already mature. We're going to bump along at 8 to 10% growth. That's okay. You can't get too wonky. You can't spend what you don't have. And then boom, we had 50% growth in April and higher than that in May. And August could be our biggest month ever. I don't get it. It's never been a big month for me.
Well, the other thing is too, I think, you have to diversify yourself. Chris and I, we have an on-site warehouse. We have on-site shipping. We have a barbecue supply. Chris competes all the time. We're doing the Meat America podcast now. You really do have to diversify yourself. And me and Chris thought that would be a good time to do it now before we hit that 10-year mark. Let's test the waters. Let's see what's going to happen with us. And, let's seek and destroy with it. Everything that Chris and I do, we want to do it to the best of our ability, so it all goes back to having a good product too, which you touched on earlier. And I think that's the number one key thing in our industry is there's a lot of shitty products out there in our industry. I'm not going to name any names. We both know who and where they come from. But quality means everything in this industry due to the fact that it is probably the most popular time in the barbecue industry history, in my personal opinion.
Right. So yeah, no, we're plowing on. I have also had, we're in such a different place because we are able to spend and invest in our SEO and we're putting a whole new website together. We're not replatforming, but we are advancing, and we're spending a lot of energy on a recipe site and a blog site that we weren't doing in the past. I haven't got into Podtax, although Hakeem has been saying, Brad, you need to do more of these. So I appreciate you guys, inviting us to jump out and have with you and to share our stories, because it's, 13 years in dog years is a long time.
Yes, it is.
And it feels like, we were in Austin, Texas in February, visiting my middle child, delivering a grill. Of course, she just bought a house. And it was like, this was wonderful. I'm out to dinner with a customer and they're home grilling. It feels like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What's happened since February till now? It's like, what year was that? So we're seeing exponential changes. E-commerce is racing forward at an unbelievable rate. So don't underestimate that, Mike. I feel like we got very lucky there too, because I always kept the foundation and said, that's a lane we have to be good at. No matter what other lanes we're in, we got to be good at e-com. And now it's really paying dividends, obviously. And we're working backwards. I love Ace and stuff, but that's a hard sell. You know that. You got to get into these stores.
It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work. We have a secret weapon at Code 3. His name's Josh Milson. He's one of the most talented chefs out there. He's a lot like Mike Della Porta.
Yeah.
And he's in our warehouse humping it every day. And, perfect example, we had a guy not show up with a lift gate last week. Well, now we're 5 days behind on getting product out to 10 different Ace Hardware warehouses. So, there's a lot of these things that people think that you just, you just ship it and sell it and life's good. And that's all there is to it. There's just so many moving parts in our industry, you know, being a food product or whatever.
Right. But we're in, I couldn't be more thankful to be in this business at this time. And I think you're serving a purpose to get as much information in front of consumers. I mean, it's like everybody gave up on their screen times too. You know, we were all trying to be a little more distant. I mean, I don't live with my phone. I'm too old to do that, but I think everybody's game for upping their game. So we're very fortunate where we are. I mean, a lot of our the restaurant friends, I cry for them.
That's no joke. Well, and Joe, I mean, you could probably touch on that. You know, these guys we have Meat America podcast and we have the Meat America Travel Cooking Show. I don't do anything with the cooking show. This is those guys' babies right there, and they're doing an awesome job with it. I mean, what have you been hearing? I mean,
it's been, first of all, working on that show has been, exciting. Really looking forward to sharing some of those episodes and sharing the knowledge of the experts who we've met. I think it's been, as I've been in some of these restaurants, cautiously in the restaurants, taking the proper precautions while I'm there for the safety of all their patrons. What I've really become aware of is, how many people are truly affected by what's going on. We've been in Q39 in Kansas City. That was pre-COVID. Chef Rob McGee, and just the number of employees he had, to hold down the fort and make daily operations happen, was really remarkable. The old iceberg analogy, only 10% of it is above the surface. And, I don't know that the analogy holds up 100% for the restaurant business, but so much of it's happening in the back of the house. And by the back of the house, I don't even just mean the cooks and the dishwashers. I'm talking about those companies and people who are tasked with touching through deliveries, products, and a whole host of other things. It's really been very eye-opening.
Yeah. Hey, we deal with it in the supply chain. I mean, I've had thankfully, again, having U.S. suppliers. I mean, one of them is very, very dependent on the automobile industry. When COVID hit, they used to be 5 days a week, 2 shifts. They went to 4 days a week, 1 shift. That's a lot of bodies out of work.
Yes.
The good news is we were able to fill up one of their whole days. I mean, we're getting turnaround and being able to bring a lot of business into them. So, our U.S. supply chain kept us in business, and we were able to keep some people at their jobs, during some really tough times too. Now, auto's already recovered. My lead times were spectacular 3 weeks ago. They're getting back to normal. As auto's back in the doorway over there, I can't get a quick turn like I used to. But no, I'm encouraged long term that we're going to be just fine. Our industry's going to be better than fine. It really is a golden era, I think, for a lot of the industry, because we're all going to want to learn how to cook better. And we're hopefully the family time around the grill does not go away once we get back to our normal hectic, crazy run around lifestyles. I hope that that's one of the habits that carries forward is, what are we going to grill tonight, Dad? That's what you want to hear.
It's good for families.
It is
good for health and everything. And this conversation has been not just good, but really great, learning more about the product. Your kind of comments about business and building a brand almost speak directly to me and where I'm at in our business 5 years in, and just haven't taken our first paycheck, and it's been a long road. So I want to thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's been a really interesting path filled with, as I know both of you gentlemen know, a lot of hard work, putting one foot in front of the other and keeping going, even sometimes when you don't feel like you can. So just want to really thank you for your time. I want to thank also our audience who has tuned in today. If you liked this podcast, the greatest compliment you can pay us is heading on over to iTunes and giving us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, you guys know the drill. Go ahead and hit that big thumbs up like button, or even better, subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss a beat as we introduce you to experts and guys like Brad from all across America working in all aspects of this industry. Mike, you have anything to add?
Yeah, me being out by my grill every single day of the week, I mean, I am cooking at least 6 days a week. For everybody listening or watching, do yourself a favor, spend the money. It's going to last you probably forever. I've beat the hell out of your GrillGrates, and they look exactly the same the day I bought them. It's going to change your cooking game, and I don't care what you cook on. It's a great product, Brad. You guys are great people. You're always going to have support from Code 3 Spices and Meat America. And just thank you for the friendship over the years too. I love using your products.
And tell Chris I said hello. I don't see him there, but please give my regards. And I appreciate you guys having me on your show.
Absolutely, Brad.
All right, and everyone at home, keep following us along as we meet America. We'll see you guys soon.
Subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel at redmeatlover.com and learn more at meatamericapodcast.com.